I love that hymn, A Mighty Fortress Our God. That hymn is actually the hymn that, that hymn that Martin Luther penned that came out of the Reformation, especially when he went through some hard troubles. It's thought that that hymn that we just sang was penned at a time when he had to flee for his life, that when he had to be hidden away for a time, that because the Roman Catholic Church was seeking to kill him. And so he wrote this song based off of this psalm that we're looking at this morning, Psalm 46. That here that God is a mighty fortress, a mighty refuge. There was a television program, and you may remember this. It was preceding the 1988 Winter Olympics. It featured blind skiers being trained for slalom skiing, or slalom skiing. Impossible as that sounds, paired with sighted skiers, the blind skiers were taught on the flats how to make right and left turns. When that was mastered, they were taken to the slalom, where they were sighted partners skied beside them, shouting left and right. And as they obeyed, they were able to negotiate the course and cross the finish line, dependent solely on the sighted skier's words. It was either complete trust or catastrophe. And I've actually seen some videos on that have been on the internet or like YouTube where it shows that there's been athletic competitions, even as impossible it seems, that even track, to run around a track blind or nearly blind, where you have somebody right beside you giving you commands that it's going to be either complete trust or it's not going to work out very well. And what a vivid picture this is, really, of the Christian life. In this world, we are in reality blind about what course to take. We must rely solely on the word of the only one who is truly sighted, God himself. His word gives us the direction we need to finish the course. And in him, we could take refuge. That's what Psalm 46 describes as those, just as I said a few moments ago, a mighty fortress is our God. God is our refuge. He is our strength and a very present help in trouble. That we are blind in this world. We must trust him. We must have unwavering confidence and trust in the Lord. Easier said than done. Because we want to be in control. We want things to go our way. We think there's better things that we can take refuge in and trust than the Lord. But we must trust God and put our confidence in him. H.C. Leopold wrote this: few psalms breathe the spirit of sturdy confidence in the Lord in the midst of very real dangers as strongly as does this one. And so this morning, in times of crisis, the truth of God's omnipresence gives you security. And I would add also even his omnipotence and who he is. But in times of crisis, the truth of God's omnipresence gives you security. Psalm 46:1 says this: for the choir director, Psalm of the sons of Korah, set to Alamoth, a song, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. 3 words are used or a phrase used in this verse to describe your basis, to put your unwavering trust and confidence in God. Look at how God is described: a refuge, a strength, a very present help in trouble. First, let's look at God as your refuge. That word for refuge can be used to describe any shelter someone may seek. For example, you may seek shelter in a tornado. You're told to seek shelter. That's why the sirens come on, to tell you to seek shelter. If your home has a basement, that's where you go to. If your home doesn't, they tell you to go to the lowest lying area that there is, so that you can find shelter and refuge. If this building was on fire, you would seek refuge outside to get away from the trouble. If you're caught in a storm, you're going to seek refuge. That here, that whether it is your home, if you get home and it starts raining, what do? You run as fast as you can. If you're out in the parking lot of the store, you're either going to go back, head as quick as you can back to the store, seek refuge there, or if you're close enough to your car, you're going to run there to seek refuge from the rain. On Thursday, when we went to the Cleveland Zoo, there were times early on in that morning that it would be raining, and raining hard. We sought refuge when our umbrellas did not keep back the rain enough. We found shelter that sometimes it might be a building you go into, it might be an overhang, or even one of their giant umbrellas. One of those times we were in front of the giraffes, and even some of them tried to seek shelter. They were standing there by the door of their indoor enclosure, wanting to get in. That even a creature that is 20 feet tall does not want to be in a rainstorm. But one of the juvenile giraffes sought shelter under a tree. But here, this isn't the refuge we're told to seek. It's a building, a physical location that here one might seek when there's danger. Throughout the Bible, God is described as a refuge. Here's this picture of God as a refuge. Even Psalm 7:1 describes that. That here, O Lord my God, in you I have taken refuge. Save me from all those who pursue me and deliver me. And even the King James translates the word that you see refuge in the New American Standard as trust. Psalm 7:1 in the King James, O Lord my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all that persecute me and deliver me. I put my trust. That's really what the picture is of putting your refuge in God. Because that's what you do when you seek refuge in God. That your confidence and trust is in Him to help you and protect you from no matter what that situation be. Whether that is physical danger, whether that's spiritual danger, whether that is an enemy who is making trouble for you, or that here, whatever it may be, or a trial, we go to the Lord for safety. And the reality is that the Lord is the only trustworthy refuge, because He will never fail you. If you think that people will do you better, they will fail you. Why? Because one is nobody's perfect. People forget, and I'm giving the best of examples that people can fail you that with the best of intentions. That here, because one is that people are forgetful. Another is that people may lack the ability, the strength to do it. As people get older, that here they less strength. People get weak. They grow old. Their memory goes. And even then, at the best of memories, the best of minds, we're still not have the mind of God where we know everything. And so we're not omniscient. But then at times, some people are untrustworthy. Some people are sinful. That here, that we can't, and if we say, well, I won't go to another person, how about myself? Well, my strength will fail me. My knowledge can fail me. I don't know it all. I don't have it all together. That here, I will fail myself. But none of those things are ever true of God. That's why He can be your only refuge. He's the only one that you can put your trust in and confidence in. He is your refuge. And so no matter what you're going through, He should be the first one that you go to. Whatever trial It is. If you're persecuted for Christ's sake, when people make life difficult for you, when you have enemies, when you're suffering, when you have hardship and heartaches, no matter what it is, you can go to the Lord and seek refuge. And you find in Him safety. And because of that, you can go boldly before the throne of God. Hebrews 4:16, therefore let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. That we go to Him a refuge. He is a sure refuge, a strong refuge. He is a refuge that will never fail you. He's a refuge that cannot be destroyed or overcome. And so here, He is our refuge that we can go to. But look at verse 1 again, because there's another picture of God. Not only is He called your refuge, but He's called your strength as well. God is your strength. And so God being described as your refuge is pointing to the place of your safety, your trust, and your confidence. Now God is being described as your strength, refers to the source of strength. Your source that God provides to those who are weak. The strength that God gives you to enable to do His will, to live as a believer, to go through these trials, to go whatever circumstances you are faced, it is His strength that He gives you. Because your strength will fail you. Other people's strength will fail you. Money will fail you. Possessions will fail you. But God will not. And so this is why, because God is our strength, this is why Paul said this in Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. Which strengthens me. I can do all things. And he penned those words after listing that here he knew what it was to be in prosperity and without. To be full and to go hungry. That here, no matter what situation of life, he was able to go through it because God, Christ, strengthened him. And that's why Paul said that he would gladly be weak so that Christ is his strength. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10, that Paul was not relying upon himself. He wasn't relying upon his knowledge. He wasn't relying upon his strength. He wasn't relying upon his abilities. It's Christ. In 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10, it says this, and he has said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I rather boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am well content with weaknesses, with insults, with distresses, with persecutions, with difficulties, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. And he wrote those words after he prayed several times that the Lord would take away this messenger Satan. Whatever it was that was afflicting him. But God told him, my grace is sufficient enough for you. For power is perfected in weakness. And the reality is that we're all weak, whether we want to admit it or not. But when you recognize you're weak, then you turn to God as your strength. And guess what? What does it say? What did Paul say? For when I'm weak, then I'm strong. Because I have Christ's strength. I have his strength. And what is God's strength described as? Well, it's not going to be described as people's strength. I mean, we have strongman contests, and there are men and women who can do amazing feats of strength. That they can hold. You ever see where they're holding these pillars up? That takes a lot of strength, but they're not able to do it for endless hours, a minute or so at best. And they can pick up huge boulders and all these things, these strongman contests, but yet that pales in comparison to God's strength. As Psalm 30 verse 7 describes, O Lord, by your favor you have made my mountain to stand strong. You hid your face. I was dismayed. That God's strength is described as a mountain. A mountain is seen as something immovable. That you think of Mount Everest, this huge mountain that's part of a mountain range. That here it is strong, that it implies strength, but God is stronger than that, for he made the mountains. His strength is not compared to quicksand or to shifting sand, but something that here is immovable, that we view as immovable. That even when earthquakes come, yeah, there may be some rock slides, but here the mountain is still there. And even some earthquakes have caused Mount Everest to drop an inch or two. But still that mountain stands. And so mountains are usually imply great strength. But here the Lord, he gives us his strength. Here is compared to a mountain. Matthew Henry writes this: "Are we oppressed by troubles? Have we work to do and enemies to grapple with? God is our strength to bear us up under our burdens, to fit us for all our services and sufferings. He will by his grace put strength into us, and on him we may stay ourselves." That here we can stand and be immovable. That here that God's strength. And then third, there's a third description. It says a very present help in trouble in Psalm 46:1. Psalm 46:1, a very present help in trouble. That is what God is. God is a very present help in trouble. That here oftentimes, that here we see that he's described as a help. Oftentimes when we think of a helper, we think of somebody who is an assistant. That someone who is of a lower status that assists somebody in a greater position. For example, in companies, a lot of people have assistants. Whether they call them a secretary or assistant, but here that schools will have, an assistant principal, they'll have the administrator and the superintendent even above that, and down this line, they'll have administrators and principals and all helping the school here, all helping the superintendent. That here we think, and even in companies, they have assistants, assistant CEOs or vice president, that here different titles. Some churches have multiple pastors here. You have assistant pastor helping, that here they're serving the Lord. But here that God is not an assistant in that. He's not a help in that way. He's not somebody of lesser status. This isn't demeaning to the Lord. Because God is not being described in that type of way. What God is doing is he's doing for you what you cannot do yourself. This is probably why some people say that some of these sayings that come about but God is doing for you what you cannot do for yourself. Especially in times of trouble, that unless you turn to the Lord for his help, you will be overcome or destroyed. That God is a help. Very present help in trouble. When Israel was losing against the Philistines, Samuel told them to repent and turn back to the Lord and get rid of their idols. And then Samuel offers these sacrifices. That here as they repent and they turn back to the Lord. And God helped them in an awesome way. And afterwards Samuel erected this monument of stone and named it Ebenezer to remind them of God's help. And that's found in 1 Samuel chapter 7. But 1 Samuel chapter 7, 10 through 12 says this: "Now Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, and the Philistines drew near to battle against Israel. But the Lord thundered with a great thunder on that day against the Philistines and confused them, so that they were routed before Israel. The men of Israel went out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines and struck them down as far as below Beth-kar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shen and named it Ebenezer, saying, 'Thus far the Lord has helped us.'" God in this awesome way helped them. Thundered with a great thunder that confused them. And God helped them because they put their trust in the Lord by repenting, removing their idols. That we're not putting our trust in these false gods. We're putting our trust in the Lord. And God helped them in a great manner. I mean, that is where the words, "Here I raise my Ebenezer," come from in that hymn, "Come thou fount of every blessing," are based on. That here, that it's an Ebenezer is a reminder of God's help. To remind us, and we should remind ourselves, of the times that God has helped us. But notice that not only is he a help in trouble, but he's not described, it doesn't say a distant help in trouble, or very far, it says present help. He is near. He is near because he's omnipresent. And that way, you don't have to go on a journey. You don't have to go very far. That you don't have to flee somewhere else and I have to go 50 miles to find him. Or I have to go 5 or 100. You turn to him right here and there in prayer, where you are. And he isn't just like any help, like when you ask someone for help and you're unsure that they'll be able to do it. This word not only describes he's a present help, but he's a sure help as well, because he has proved himself over and over and over and over again that he is more than able to help and do what you cannot do, because he is omnipotent. He is all-powerful. He's all-knowing. He's all-wise. He is more than able to help and to do. And we can lean upon him. We can trust him. He has proved himself. He is a sure help. As Matthew Henry describes, are we in distress? He is a help. To all for us that which we need, a present help, a help found, so the word is, one whom we have found to be so, a help on which we may write, probatum est, it is tried as Christ is called a tried stone, or a help at hand, one that never is to seek for, but that is always near, or a help sufficient, a help accommodated to every case in exegesis. Whatever it is, he is a very present help. We cannot desire better help, nor shall we ever find the like in any creature. Are we going through a trial? He's a present help. Is it financial? Is it with relationships? Is it at work? Is it health? Whatever it may be, he's a present help. If it's with people who are causing problems, whether it's a neighbor or a friend or a relative, God's a present help. Whatever it may be, he's a help. He's a present help that we don't have to go far. We don't have to go anywhere. We go to the Lord right where we're at. And so he is a very present help. And so because he is these things, that's why there is no reason for fear, even in chaos. Even the worst thing imaginable that can happen, there's no reason for fear. As Psalm 46:2 there, look with me. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change and though the mountains slip into the heart of the sea. If God is our refuge, there is no need to fear. Even in the worst things imaginable, we don't need to be afraid. If God is your strength, there's no need to be afraid in the worst things that can happen. If God is a very present help in the time of trouble, in the time of need, then there is no need to be afraid, even in the worst things that possible that could happen. If the worst things can happen, if the world is crashing down, or it seems that your whole world is crashing down because that here you hear the word cancer, for example, or you're going through a trial, a hardship, that here a friend has betrayed you, you lost your job, whatever may it be, God, there's no reason to be afraid. No reason to be afraid. Though the descriptions in these two verses, these descriptions of chaos, is terrifying to the unsaved world. I mean, verse 2 describes, though the earth should change, though the mountains slip into the sea. Psalm 46:3, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains quake at its swelling. Pride, Selah. I mean, though the waters roar and foam, and though the mountains quake, a calamity like this is reversing what God did on day 3 of creation when He created the dry land. And as well as reversing what came out of the flood, the mountains greatly increased in size and height. I mean, this would be a massive earthquake greater than 10 that would shake the entire earth. Mountains that are seen as immovable and cause them to fall into the sea. This would cause the seas to roar and foam, tsunamis, which would create great destruction. This would dwarf the tsunami that occurred on December 26th. I think it was 2004, which killed around 250,000 people in 14 nations in the Indian Ocean and Pacific. I mean, this would be something described as in Revelation 16:18 through 20. And there were flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder. And there was a great earthquake such as there had not been since man came to be upon the earth. So great an earthquake was it, and so mighty, the great city was split into 3 parts. And the cities of the nations fell. Babylon the Great was remembered before God, to give her the cup of the wine of His fierce wrath. Verse 20. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. Something like this is terrifying for unbelievers, because they have laid up treasures on this earth, while God's people have laid up treasure in heaven, which these events have no effect upon. What Jesus said, Matthew 6:20 through 21, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in or steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. But I do want you to know that the psalmist is not making an end-time prophecy, describing what will happen like John does in Revelation. What he's doing is making a point. That if this was to happen, that if the mountains were to fall in the sea, the earth would change. Certainly an earthquake of that magnitude would change the earth, because we know that there was an earthquake in the days of flood that caused that the tectonic plates and pushed the mountains up, and a lot happened that changed the earth and split the continent that used to be one, and then reformed into one, and then now split apart. That here you have this massive change and tsunamis and all this. Just imagine the worst would happen. And he's saying if there's no reason to fear, and when that happens, the worst possible scenario that could happen, then you don't have any reason to fear in the things that happen to your life, because they're small in comparison to something like this happening. And he may be using these as a metaphor for it's thought by some that this is a metaphor for the changes of nations, that kingdoms come and kingdoms go. But even then, when there's chaos, there's no reason to fear, because why? God is a refuge. He's a refuge that even if the mountains were to fall in the sea, that all this bad things happen, it doesn't touch the Lord. It doesn't change Him. He's a sure refuge. Because if we seek a refuge in even a tornado, it's possible that our shelter's gone. that it could be swept away. That here that a physical structure can be touched by a storm or something that happens, but yet the Lord, He's untouched by storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, fires, whatever it may be. He's a refuge that will never change, will never be destroyed. And then His strength. His strength doesn't grow weak over time like ours does. That here He doesn't grow weaker by day. That here His strength never changes. And we can depend upon Him no matter what it is. And then He's a very present help in trouble. That He is always there. We are to put our confidence in the Lord no matter what has happened. And so we don't have to be ever afraid, no matter what it is, because God is the Creator who has control over all His creation. And so the worst of the worst can happen, we can still trust the Lord. And so with our trials and our difficulties, the things we go through, put our confidence in Him. Put our trust in Him. Make Him your refuge. Rely upon Him for your strength. Go to Him because He's a very present help in time of trouble. I mean, Psalm 121, 1 through 2. I will lift up my eyes to the mountains. From where shall my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. That here He is our strength that we should rely upon. He is the refuge we should seek and no matter what happens to life. That here that we must recognize, as Paul did, that when I'm weak, I'm reality strong because my strength comes from the Lord. And then He's a very present help that we can turn to Him no matter where we're at. When the moment we are experiencing a trial or trouble or persecution or whatever it may be, we can turn to Him right then and there. He is not far, He is near. And so we ought to give thanks to the Lord for that He is these things. That here that He is not as a God who is described in other religions, or even how the deist, it's an 18th century belief that God He doesn't care about His creation. And other false gods, they could care less about their people. They're not there to help them. But our God is unlike that. He is a very present help in trouble. He is the strength we should rely upon, and He's the refuge we should seek. That we are to put our trust and our confidence in Him, our unwavering confidence in Him. He is not like that here we wonder if we're going to be able to get across that some bridges you wonder the way they look at, that here they look crumbling, that here whether they're made of wood or metal or concrete, that it looks like at any moment it can fall. No. It is not like that with the Lord. He is a sure foundation. He's a sure refuge. And so we must put our confidence and trust in Him and fully in Him.